All right, with so many books, comic books, novels, and all that being turned into movies and TV shows, it caused me to take a look back at when I was a baby writer back in the early school days, um, to try to investigate what it was that I wanted for my projects, because I've been writing since forever. I'm 𝘾𝙤𝙡𝙚𝙢. I'm a contemporary indie author, heavy on the romance, heavy on the relationships, and this is kind of a walk down memory lane. So as a kid, my plans for writing had always been to write something that then shows up on the screen or shows up on a TV show or something. I consumed a lot of daytime TV, soap operas, primetime dramas. Like I consumed so much drama and relationship stuff in my media as a kid. Then when the comics and cartoons of it all popped up, X-Men had all of these soap opera drama with the fun action-packed power sets. So it's like I never stood a chance. This was always going to be my life. But as a kid, I always wanted, for my short stories, my novels, my comic books that I drew in a 70-page notebook or a sketch pad, to be on the big screen. Like, that was always the plan. And it was like never any doubt about it either, because I felt like I consumed so much, specifically soap opera media. I consumed so much Days of Our Lives, Guiding Light, General Hospital, and my favorite, Passion, that like I just knew you have to write. You have to write these shows, you gotta write these movies, and see your name in lights. So with that in mind, thinking about my adult self, how much has the idea of my childhood aspirations changed? And I would say not a lot. So I still would absolutely love to see things that I've written be played on a big screen, be played on the TV screen, even, you know, live on stage somewhere. Like, that's always been, it's been a dream of child me. It's been an aspiration for me as an adult. But with that, I haven't been too focused on that part. Like, I do my writing, I have screenplays, and I study media. But for me, the actual writing projects, books, short stories, all of that is a little bit more satisfying and fulfilling to me. Of course, who wouldn't love to see their characters played by big name Hollywood stars and actors and whatnot, or even like a quiet indie film? But like, I don't know, that's not so much of a end game for me anymore. I really just want to write as many books as possible and throw them out to the world and see what people take from them. What good, bad, ugly, indifferent, great, things you critique, things you love, what fandoms are created behind it, what who do you hate the most, you know? So that's more or less where I fall, and where my interests lie. There's so many books, like 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. In that book, the female main character is a writer, and she's written a series that she likes, but it's not the fulfilling series that she wants to be known for. And there is she's quite literally negotiating with getting a movie made based off her source material. And that was such an interesting, I don't want to say B plot, kind of side part of her condition in that book. And even reading through that, I was like, man, I wonder, what would that look like for me? I write Black folks, I write urban settings, I write things that I saw growing up. And I could not imagine writing my book full of Black ass drama and love. And somebody says, no, I want you to change every character and make them white so they'll be palatable for the rest of the audience. So though that was in that book, There have been countless conversations about things as minor as not having a hairstylist on set who can deal with black hair to as big as like colorism and featureism in media. So even though an aspiration of me as a child was to have my work out there in public for public consumption, to have it played out on the big screen and on the small screen and everything else, I often consider, even if that's the route that I was to take now, what does that look like? And what does that look like for my work? And you can sit back and critique media all day long, but there's always so many hands that go in and out of writers' rooms and directing and casting and wardrobe and hair and makeup and all that. And so I just wonder, what would that look like? Like in a perfect world, if one of my novels became a movie, what does that look like for me? So there's been many adaptations of books, from like I said, comics to novels to scripts to short stories, and we have anything from The Perfect Find, Waiting to Exhale, Riverdale, What's Love Got to Do with It, Preacher, Think Like a Man, Watchmen, Lady Sings the Blues, Lucifer, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, Devil in the Blue Dress, The Walking Dead, and now The Other Black Girl.
Every day the same.
You were devastated. I can.
Now, The Other Black Girl is an upcoming horror series. This is set to release on Hulu. This will be in September, so not too far after I think this video goes up. But it's released on Hulu, which is, something, and it's based off a novel by the same name by Miss 𝘾𝙤𝙢𝙖𝙣 Harris. Now, the rights to the book were sold for about $1 million, I believe, and that adaptation, the trailer promises a lot. The Other Black Girl, this follows Nella, an African-American editorial assistant who works for a white New York City publishing firm. She gets excited to have a black co-worker when the new girl, Hazel, arrives. But is she friend or foe? So yeah, I read the book last year, 2022, and it was a wild ride, I'll say that. It was a lot of back and forth, ups and downs, lefts, rights, and the like. The ending was interesting to me, and I'll kind of leave it there. So with this, when the news of this book being turned into a live action project, I was a little excited, maybe more so than I realized, just because these stories, regardless of where you fall, because I think this is maybe a polarizing book where a lot of people are not for it, but then there are a lot of people who seem to like it. But I like the idea that we're getting these black stories to be put on screen. So, that's a win there. And having my own personal feelings about like reading the book and the characters and the events and whatnot, seeing that it was going to be made into a TV show was like, cool. So with the news of The Other Black Girl becoming a show and then having that trailer pop up on the timeline, I was like, yeah, I gotta look at this. I gotta look at this, because this again is the wildest dreams of me as a kid, writing in a 70-page notebook, getting my thoughts out, knowing that I would have my one of my books or projects in lights one day. So The Other Black Girl, let's check out the trailer.
Wagner Books. Hello, yes. Nella? Will you get me another coffee? Nella! Will you get Advil for me? Nella, that's 2 copies. Nella, I need you. Nella! Nella! There's someone you have to meet.
So right away, this feels very in line with the book. That constant nagging, that constant direction, that constant "we need you now." that from what I remember is true to form. So they've set up Nella in a very accurate way from what I remember.
This is Hazel May McCall, my new assistant. Really? Hi.
Let me stop right there. Ashley Murray, my God. That woman is beautiful. That woman is talented. I have been a fan of hers since I think 2015 is when I first learned of her. And she has never disappointed in any role that she has been in. I absolutely love her. Seeing her as Josie in Riverdale was phenomenal. Again, back to the representation is the hill I live and die on. When I saw that she was Josie, and phenomenal. Um, I've seen her in a couple other things. I think she was in Katie Keene as well. I can't remember how long that show went, but she played Josie there, and she also played Zinzi in the Tom Swift series that lasted only but a season. So sad, and she killed it there too. I actually got a chance to speak with her in a press event. Had a couple questions for her, well, for the entire cast, but I spoke with her the most. And my God, if I can meet that woman, but I'll stop standing.
It's just really nice that you're here.
Right back at you. You know that hall of white people they have here?
Welcome to Wagner.
Wagner's just... You'll see. I am ready to recommend your promotion to assistant editor.
I lit so many intention candles for this.
What the...
You were bold, and you have a lot of potential.
Fancy. Oh my goodness. So yeah, so this looks good, and this is one of the reasons why I absolutely enjoy consuming written work and then seeing it translated online, because I can see. So having read the book, I'm pretty maybe 70% confident I know how it'll end, but with it being translated to a different medium, a lot of changes could be made. They could just be keeping the spirit of the book. A lot of the stuff that I've seen so far seem to really stay in line with the with what I've read in the book. But when you do adaptations, there's always that room for changes, for alterations. And I'm wondering if, because the book does exist and because a lot of us has read it and because we have feelings, thoughts, and opinions on it, if they're going to make some changes to it, if they're going to beef up some of the elements, or if they're going to maybe shy away from some of them completely. So this like little horror space that we seem to be moving in with the trailer is very I think it feels, and this is just speculation off of the trailer, it feels very paranormal in a way that I don't think was reflected in the book. So we'll see. Then also we're dealing with a series versus a movie, so there's that as well.
Something really strange happened.
I told you that company was a hellhole.
I'd feel sorry for anyone who was unfortunate enough to be in our way.
Did you come to my apartment last night?
What are you talking about?
I feel like I'm completely losing my mind. Hazel?
Hazel.
Will and Grace. This is a jam-packed series. Like that alone is probably worth the price of admission. Seeing Fancy, seeing Will, seeing my girl Josie, seeing my girl from 4400 reboot. Like this is interesting. And the just from the trailer alone, the spooky elements seem to be very much that. I'm hoping that this isn't a letdown. Because I just got into horror within the last year. I'm not running to the theaters to see any horror films, but I do like that if you're going to have that spooky, creepy, evil horror element, go all the way, lean into it. Have me shook, have me scared to open my closet door at night. That's what I want.
Girl, I told you.
Have you noticed Nella acting weird lately? She just seemed a bit off.
This has been driving me crazy.
Crazy.
Like, come on. Like, the creative team over there working on this has done what they needed to do. This is already, just based off of the trailer alone, this is something that is definitely right up my alley. I'm definitely the target audience for this.
I know that this sounds like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, but every conspiracy about white people being whack ends up being true in like 20 years.
All right, so that is the trailer. What do you guys think? Are you up for it or not? Are you excited for the other black girl? Are you like, nah? Did you hate the book or love the book? Didn't read the book? All in all, this looks like a very solid project into The Perfect Find and how that ties into this for me. So I read The Perfect Find, I think a couple months ago. I read The Perfect Find in preparation for the movie hitting Netflix just last month. And the book, I enjoyed it. I thought Tia did a great job. I even mentioned, I think I have I'll link it in the cards, whatever, a video, short video discussing my thoughts on The Perfect Find. And having read the book and having watched the film and then seeing the differences and the changes that were made, I'm not here to decide what you like and what you don't. Speaking objectively, the book was a good book. It read well, great characters, had a fun time reading it. The movie, the same. But I will say there were changes that were made in the movie from the book, from the source material, that I feel like were substantial enough that they both can stand on their own. Now, there were some things in the movie that I didn't particularly care for, but all things considered, that was a long book that was just made into a movie. You could not possibly include everything in it. And so I'm hoping that what happens with this series is they take the elements that I and others may have felt was a little bit lacking or wasn't as strong or didn't like as much in the book and kind of beef them up and change things around and make it fit for the TV audience with the show. And I don't think that is unheard of. So I'm very much a nerd. You know how nerds are. We always are so diehard dedicated to source material, and adaptations need to be a certain way and this and that. I grew out of that some time ago. When watching Lovecraft Country, which I read the book in preparation for the show coming out. They did a really good job at taking the source material and altering it enough that, again, those two things stand on their own. But funny enough, in that instance, they stand alone, but they're tied together by multiverse. But that's a conversation for another day. I say all this to say, with The Perfect Find being a movie adaptation, you're going to lose out on a lot just by virtue of it being a movie. With the other black girl becoming a series, and I don't know how many episodes will be in this series, but with it being a series, you have more time to dive, swim, roll your way through the source material and make whatever changes are needed, and do it in a way that you have enough time that you can make it make sense or make it flow a little bit better or make it be a slow burn. And so I'm excited just to see if my critiques, issues, thoughts, or concerns about the book are addressed and how they're handled in the show, and if it truly could stand alone on its own, because I think that is the makings of a great project. If your book can stand on its own, and if your movie slash TV show can stand on its own as well, and they don't necessarily need one another. One could even mention The Interview with the Vampire, the Anne Rice series, and the way it was before when she wrote it, and then also the 90s movie, and then also roll up in Queen of the Damned and all the other stuff versus the AMC reboot retelling that came out last year. So yeah, we'll see. Or was it this year? I don't know. Whatever. It came out recently. And so I'm that's what I'm excited for when it comes to this project. Outside of the stacked cast. This cast is ridiculous. We have Sinclair Daniel playing Nella, and I'm not familiar with her. She's a beautiful young lady, and I think she's been in quite a few things. We'll see. If you know, leave it in the comments. Let me know what you've seen her in. We have Brittany Ademola, and I think I butchered her name, but she was in the 4400. I have a whole podcast discussing that, the first series and the reboot that hit CW last year. She plays Malika. Then we have Bellamy Young of Scandal fame. Oh, Millie playing Wagner. Like, this is she. I don't know, whatever. I'm a fan. Then we have my girl Ashley Murray playing Hazelmay McCall. Hunter Parrish playing Owen. I'm not familiar with him. Langston Kerman. That man, he's a phenomenal actor. We have Garcelle, Miss Fancy herself, playing Diane Gordon. With quite a few. So there is. This is such a, again, funny enough, a project that seems like it's tailor made for me. It is a horrific, kind of dark academia adjacent TV show made off of a Black author's work. That clearly that's in line with me. It has a lot of actors and actresses from things that I grew up consuming when I was younger, back in the day. A lot of actors and actresses who I'm fan of, and so I am truly excited for this to drop. But what I will say is, I don't know. I guess I got to figure out how many episodes this is, and if I'm going to devote the time to kind of digging into it, like if I can marathon it or if it's going to be released week to week. I don't have those details yet, but if you guys know, let me know in the comments. So I hope that this show does the course correction of things that I didn't particularly care for in the book. And I will say the book itself, and then the trailer, they feel like almost like Get Out meets Bad Hair. That's what it feels like to me. Like, just the aesthetic and the feel and the mood. I will say, seeing Ashley play Hazel, who is the villain, spoiler alert, the villain. I can't wait. I can't wait. And it almost feels like some elements of like single white female in there too. So I say Get Out, Bad Hair, and single white female, which is an interesting concept. So, let me know if you're looking forward to watching this series, or if you're just like, nah, it's okay. In a perfect world, me being a kid, writing my projects and knowing that I'll see my name in lights and see my shows up on screen and whatnot. And then we get a taste of like what it is to have a book translated to TV and to movies. We just saw the trailer for The Other Black Girl, and there were countless others that I named, and many that we see every day that we don't even know are based off books, comic books, novels, or whatever. All of this sounds great, but I will say, after all of this, my focus and care and consideration and concern would go first and foremost to the writers and the actors. We are currently in the middle, at the time of this recording, we are in the middle of a writer's strike, the actor's strike, and things are not ending quite yet, not to my knowledge anyways. This happened back in 2007. We are currently going through it now. And as much as I love every single actor in this project and all of the media that I consume, as much as I love and appreciate all of these folks and consuming them and loving their work and their artistry, without fair and proper pay, like, what road are we going down? I want these folks to be able to keep telling these stories, but of course they need to be compensated. So even though this is a kind of walk down memory lane, kind of look at how far we've come as authors, without demands being met, which are bare, let's have a livable wage and let's not make money and profit off of my image and my voice and my work in perpetuity and forever and a day, without me also getting a cut of that, because it is me. With this changing landscape of media, there's so many parallels in industry. You have the writers and actors, you have the recording artists, you have the writers, indie especially, where things are getting pirated, stuff is getting bootleg, folks ain't getting paid for their work. It's sad. So, not to end on a somber note, but that being said, my main focus would always be supporting the actors and the writers. So though I am excited about every single new project that could ever be announced, that is with marginalized people, with good stories, with great aesthetics and this and that, indie is probably going to be the way that I focus my energy on from here on until things get better.
In order to get our insurance, it makes $26,000 a year, $26,000. And 87% of us can't qualify for health insurance. That's $26,000 a year, and we can't do that. 98,000% of us are below the minimum. That's 160,000 people. 98% are struggling. This is wrong. Many people have asked me, when will this strike end? You know what? It could end today. All that has to happen is the AMPTP needs to show up and bargain fairly. I love that Stephen Lane gave a quote from Frederick Douglass. I am a daughter of civil rights activists. I would be remiss if I didn't. So in the sacred words of John Lewis, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Ours is not the struggle of a day, a night, a week, a month, or even a year. Ours is the struggle of a lifetime.